Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger, and today we have episode 2 of Happily Married Couples. And I am so excited because I have Holly and Justin on the line with me. I met Holly through Alex Beeden, one of our favorite girls, and we just met in New York in Central Park at one of our meetups, and we hit it off right away, got to chatting, and realized she is very happily married, has a brand new baby, and we talked Justin into coming on the line and talking about their relationship. So welcome, guys. I just want to give you a chance to introduce yourselves. And so I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us on. Melissa.
Yes.
We're super excited to dig in and chat with you about all things love and relationships and marriage. I'm Holly G. I am known as your go-to video gal. And what I do is I empower online entrepreneurs to go from confused to confident and from fearful to fearless on both sides of the camera.
Love it.
I do this by teaching them the skills they need to create business cinema. And I break it down into the 7 phases of business cinema, which is my massive action plan to creating really great videos for your business.
That is a beautiful pitch. I love it. I need to get that down. That's very fast and quick. Awesome. I love it. All right,
and
Justin.
I'm here with my husband, Justin.
Yeah. My name is Justin. I'm also Mr. G, but, and I work primarily in energy management and power generation. So I'm a power plant operator, and that's what we do here. We make the power, we keep the lights on.
Yeah, he always has all the lights on. He's like, I have to use my product.
I want the neighbors to use the product. I want them to see the lights on and know that, hey, you have to keep your lights on.
You have to keep your lights on. You're like,
keep those meters running so we keep having a job.
Yeah. You're like the most important person. When the power is out, it's a whole different world. So
Absolutely.
You're like the most important person in the world, really,
People
when you
lose
think
their
about
minds.
it. Right. Yes. Like we lose power and oh my God, like just losing internet alone is tragic enough, let alone all electricity. So awesome. Okay. Well, guys, just as you know, I wanted to create this series because I feel like in this dating relationship weird world we get into where we're online and we're seeing all these weird profiles and guys that are staring longingly into their phone and their selfie camera, sitting in their car or shirtless in the mirror, or like there's all these weird things that we're taking in as single women. And we're like, is a real relationship out there? Like when you go through this enough times, and if you guys have dating stories and how you transitioned into that, like when you found each other even better, because it's like, I feel like most of my clients really are genuinely feeling like this does not exist. Like I try to tell them about happy couples and I was like, I'm sick of it. I'm going to get these people on my podcast because I know you exist, but it's just like bringing light to that so that people can gain a confidence and also know, okay, if it doesn't look and sound like Holly and Justin or Gisa and Mike or the couples that I have a couple more coming next week. Like I want them to hear just that common thread and what a healthy, happy relationship looks like. And also like the reality too of like,
Sure.
How do you guys get through fights and all that stuff? So maybe just start off with how you met and how long you've been together, or maybe just a little bit of backstory so people can get an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually met online.
Yeah.
What dating app, can I ask?
Yeah, it wasn't Tinder.
It wasn't.
It was an app that I don't think exists anymore. It was called OkCupid.
OkCupid.
Oh yeah, I think that exists still. Yeah.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Well, not to this married couple.
Yeah,
Right.
I haven't.
Yeah, you guys better not have active profiles.
Right. Yep. So we met online, and I guess there's a lot of stigma associated with that. But I think once you decide, hey, I'm done meeting people in the bar, I'm done meeting people who are playing a game, you just you want to find somebody who's looking to be in a relationship. And I think the search engines like that's technically what it is.
Yeah.
It's a dating search engine. It helps narrow down your prospects and really hone in on at least a few qualified people that you might want to engage in some conversation with and see where it goes from there.
Mm-hmm.
We met way back in 2010. We went on our first date on April Fool's Day.
Oh, I love it.
We met in a public place, and I remember I was in this bar, and it was like one of those it was a bar by.
It was a Molly. I think it was Molly Spillane's in New York City. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's right near Grand Central. It's a commuting bar, so they have the time, they have the train schedules all up on the board there inside the bar, so people don't miss their train.
Oh,
It's
nice.
just
Okay.
a bar, you know.
Lots of
Yeah.
guys hanging out with, just coming from work, and I was like, it was like vultures in there, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, I hope this guy shows up soon because these guys won't stop talking to me. And he comes, and I'm like, dudes, I'm waiting for somebody, like.
Every girl's like, what's the name of that place again?
And I'm like, thank God you're here.
That's
and then,
great.
I don't know, it was just like from there, it just got better and better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the chemistry was there, and enjoyable to be around, I think, and things just kind of progressed. That's kind of our origin story, if you want to call it that.
Well, I think prior to meeting Justin, I had come to, kind of like this idea, this concept of who I wanted and what I was looking for. And it wasn't about like the superficial surface things. And I really spent a lot of time. I joke around and say I conjured him because I feel like I did. I spent some time like really trying to figure out what are the characteristics of the man that I want to be with? What are the qualities? What does our future look like together? What does this all look like for me? How does it make me feel prior to meeting him? And I feel like when he came into my life, I was ready for him because I basically conjured him up.
So what did you write this down, or how did you like set this up?
I made like a man vision board.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
And do you still have it?
A man vision board of all of, like I was like, I want a partner. I want somebody who can stand by my side, not somebody who lingers in the background, because I'm very outspoken and outgoing. I was thinking, I want somebody I can bring to a party and it's not going to be hanging off my arm. Like, help me. But and at the same time, I don't want a guy that I bring to a party and then he leaves with some other chick, right? I needed somebody who stood by my side, not in front of me, not behind me. And those were, I needed somebody who was kind and sweet and, all these things. Then I just kind of like picked images and put them up on a board and just, thought about it.
That's amazing. I love that. I've never thought of creating that kind of a vision board, but I think it's very powerful because you got really specific.
Very specific. And it wasn't like, I need a guy who has like muscles on muscles. And I need a guy who, obviously I wanted somebody that I was physically attracted to, which I found. And, but I felt like if I focused on only that the rest of the stuff wasn't going to be in line. That I needed to also focus on how he made me feel, how I wanted to make him feel, what our life would be together, not just, superficial things.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So how about you, Justin? What was your life like before you met Holly?
Oh, it was a complete disaster. Everything has purpose now. So, I would agree. I was kind of just going through life, going through the motions, working, living, doing everything. And we kind of, that's really what it was. I didn't go as extensive as
he didn't have a vision board.
Because I don't think that's mainly a male thing to do, a guy thing to do. But, you have enough experiences where you're like, I don't want that experience again. And you kind of keep your eyes and your ears open for those kind of
the signals.
Exactly. For those kind of signals. And you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to steer away from this one, this isn't going to work out. And really, Holly, there was never not that there wasn't any red flags associated with Holly, but it was like everything just was easy. Mm-hmm. That was the key where I started to think to myself, like, this is easy. Mm-hmm. This is very easy, and it's just easy going, and we're getting along, and just things are just moving in the right direction. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something that was easy and enjoyable and just made me feel good also. And I made her feel good. That was important too, that I could also make her feel good just in the relationship sense, not in the overall happiness of Holly, because she was a very happy person before we met, I would imagine. But, just really that the relationship had happiness and ease to it.
So I'm just curious, what do you feel like made it easy? Like when you say it's easy, what do you mean specifically?
I think there was a lot of just positive playfulness and, do you want to do this? Yeah, let's go do that. Just very, very easy going. If that clears it up a little bit, I don't know if it does.
So I guess I'm just super laid back. Like I don't really have like, I'm not a very, I don't know what's the word. I'm not high maintenance, I guess. And I think sometimes, if you're super high maintenance and you have all these demands of your partner of, and particulars, as opposed to just being like, well, I'm going to just go with the flow and be happy with, what we're doing. Not like, I demand we go to a 5-star restaurant tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I demand you pick up my dry cleaning on your way to walk my dog. I demand, I'm just like, yeah, whatever, man.
I think
Nice.
that was one of the biggest keys for me was the ease and the enjoyment that I received when I was with Holly. And that's really what I think she got out of it too, is, it was just fun and easy to do.
Easy. You know what? It wasn't like he didn't play games. I never felt like confused about where we were, what's our relationship status. Like we were just very open and honest and communicated with one another very clearly from the beginning. And I think that was also something that was extremely important to me, was not to live in some mysterious relationship land where I don't ever know what's going on. And sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy or like what's happening here. I didn't want that.
You're unsure of where the other person stands, and there's a lot of just uncertainty around the relationship. I think that's something that I knew I didn't want.
I didn't want that either.
So, you got to have that constant a little bit, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. I have this problem every time I interview happy couples or I talk to happy couples, like normal, like hell, you guys are so solid. And I find myself just being like, yeah. And I just like drift off into this mental space, like, wow, that's so great. But then it's almost like when I'm around enough couples, I just get so certain, like, oh, okay, then I just know and tell me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like, oh, this is what you mean by you just know when you've met the right person, because it's easy, because it just flows, because there's no confusion. Did you guys get to like when you first met, and then what was that point where you're like, oh, I think I'm going to really be with this person? Do you remember when you started to feel that way?
Yeah, I think we met in April. So we went on our first date in April. And then I think by August, April, May, June, July. I don't know, but like sometime in August, I was like, wow, this is going to be for real. Like I'm really happy, and I know that he's really happy. So it took a couple of months, and I think there was just a trepidation on both of our parts, because we probably, both have been in relationships where, you needed to take things a little bit slower before you just jumped full force in. Mm-hmm. But I think within a few months, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be with him, and I wanted, our relationship to progress forward.
So how long did you date before you got engaged?
Well, like 4 years.
Oh, really? Okay.
We did date a long time, but we were living together at that point already for
a while,
several years, probably about 3 years, about a year into it, or maybe even less than that. We
maybe about 9 months, I think.
We decided to live together, and that kept working out great, and we just kind of kept moving forward with things, and just not even sure why it took so long, but it was probably one of the foolish things on my part to wait so long on something like that, because everything has just gotten better since we've been married. Our wedding song was a very unique wedding song, and people were really wowed by it, because it was Frank Sinatra, "The Best Is Yet to Come." And we just thought that was just such a
I love that
description of how we wanted our life to pan out. Like we want the best to happen in the future. Like it just keeps getting better and better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so perfect. I love when people do something different at a wedding, because weddings are so like repetitive, and that's really cool.
Like the pop love song of the day,
right? Like Ed Sheeran, "Perfect," which we talked about on the last podcast, is like everybody's wedding song right now is Ed Sheeran, "Perfect." So if you're listening and you get engaged, do not pick that song. Everyone's picking that song. No, it's actually a great song. But when you are at a dance studio 3 times a week and you see all these couples preparing for their wedding song, you're like, oh, our song is "Perfect" by Ed Sheeran. So that's funny that the wedding song came up twice. Yeah, I love that. The best is yet to come. It's so true. And it should just continue to get better and better.
Exactly. Sorry if you can hear weird noises. It's not us. It's the dog.
I thought I heard a good dog growling. Like
it's my stomach. I haven't eaten yet.
When we're both home, he thinks that we're just, his playmates, and that we should be playing with him, and he's confused as to why.
Sure. I'm imagining like a rope in his mouth and tug of war or something happening.
He's being very reserved at this moment, but he's just making that like, hey, let's go do something noise.
Yeah. My sister and I called that the emergency phase. Like the eyes are big and they're like, okay, where we go? Are we going somewhere? Come on. Yeah. So, all right. So you felt like, Justin, when did you know that you wanted to be with Holly for long term? Like you're dating, but like what was that point?
What day is it of the week? No.
He knew day one.
Yeah, probably. I mean, very close to it. I mean,
really, day one?
Because if we didn't want to keep the relationship going and we weren't enjoying each other's time, that's really was what my indication of has, hey, this is not enjoyable anymore. I really don't feel like doing it anymore. Like that was my biggest thing. And it just kept being enjoyable. So as time progressed, I don't think it was like one moment where it was like, that was it. Or it's just like, it just kind of progressively kept moving forward. And that's what I really enjoyed about it.
Beautiful. Okay. So I want you to, I'm sure you have friends. Do you have friends that are single and going through dating ups and downs and weird situations?
I'm trying to think. I think all of my friends at this moment are married or on their way to getting married, and same with Justin's. We're old.
Okay. So no, you're not old, because I think we're about around the same age. So don't say you're old. But okay. So Justin, I'll ask you this first. Like a lot of women are out there, and I'm just going to give you one example. A guy, what would you say about a guy that like when you guys met online, you send emails, and now it's very much like online dating goes from sending emails to, can I have your phone number? And this epidemic problem is this forever texting guy, this guy that texts and texts and texts, but doesn't ask a girl out. What would you say if like, I was like, Justin, this guy just keeps texting me, but he doesn't ever ask me out?
Well, I guess what I would say, the advice I would give somebody is like, well, put him in the friend zone. Like what are you doing? At that point, I guess that's my honest answer. You don't have to date. If he doesn't want to meet, then throw him into the friend zone. Move on to the next one, because obviously there's something holding him back from meeting you, and you can't get hung up on this one person who you thought was perfect based upon some creative copy and a photoshopped image or an Instagram filter or a shirtless picture in somebody's car or bathroom. So I think that's really what it is. If you get hung up on that fake profile, that persona that person is putting out there, and they never want to meet for real, you might as well be, talking to a celebrity who's never going to write you back,
Well, also maybe they're scared because they don't live up to the image that they've portrayed to you. And that's a problem too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this happens guy after guy after guy. And I think a lot of girls start to feel like, is there something wrong with me? Because
it's not them.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's them.
So why do you say it's not you, it's them every time?
They're the ones who are not open to having a relationship. If they were, they'd at least sit down with you and I guess, meet you.
Yeah.
Like why? I don't understand what the point of that is.
There's something holding them back, not you.
I mean, here's another thought too. It's like, maybe they just want to seem busy and always be able to text them, I don't know. Are they just addicted to their phone so much that they need to think that they're having a relationship with
Yes.
So no matter which way you think about it, none of it is positive. So either that, or maybe they're texting 10 different people and they're just sussing out their options.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a positive. I don't want to be one of 10. I want to be one of one. I don't want to be your go-to because you're standing in line at the supermarket and you need to look busy, or you're addicted to your phone, so you need to be tapping away on it. I don't want to be that person either. If you are mentally healthy, ready for a relationship, and you meet somebody that could be a good connection for you, you're not going to just incessantly text them. You're going to want to physically meet them.
Right.
If there's nothing wrong with you, if you live up to the expectation that you set, and you're ready to meet somebody and you're open to that. So it doesn't matter which way you turn it. It's a con and it's negative. And if they don't want to meet you, it's not you, it's them.
What have you found that women have expressed to you about the reasons why they think the guy doesn't want to meet them? Is that, what have people told you about that whole interaction.
Yeah. First, I just love listening to you guys reason it out, because I'm just like sitting here thinking, all my girls, I'm like, see. I just want everyone to hear, like, listen how stupid that sounds. And it helps me too, because sometimes you start talking to a guy and he's like, I talked to this guy, I don't know, a few months ago, and he was really engaging and super interesting, but it just went on and on. And finally it was like, at the end, he actually admitted, and I think only because I'm the personality type that's I was like, are we ever gonna meet? Like, what's going on? And then I don't know how I got it out of him, but I just did, that he had massive social anxiety and he was terrified. And he said to me, please don't dress up, because I can't handle, he's like, you're so beautiful, I could not handle you dressed up. And I was like, I cut it off right there. I was like, no, I can't. Immediately I felt like, you're telling me to be somebody I'm not. And I was like,
so that I can live to the move. I have to diminish myself to make you feel better about your social anxieties.
Yeah. I think that that's almost like a victim. You don't want to be you don't want to cater to not a victim personality, whether you're a man or a woman. You don't want to help this person who has such, get involved in that, even that whole story and that whole mess that's going on over there when they do have that. I would steer clear of something like that where they're a victim and you're going to save them. Like, stop trying to save people. There's no, you can't save people. And
save yourself.
Yes.
Save yourself and everything else will fall into place.
Yes. I know. I actually dated a guy. He was my last, what I call gumball guy that I dated, and he had massive social anxiety. And I'm such a people pleaser, but I'm also like I want everybody to be comfortable. So if I'm in a room and somebody's cold or I can't stand it, like, I have to make sure everybody's okay. And so if I just told him, I said, look, I can't date somebody like you, because I will constantly be worrying about your anxiety and it will paralyze me. And I just, and I've realized too, that when you have these issues, you got to work on these yourself. You can't date somebody. Yeah. Yes.
You have to analyze, like, why do I feel like I need to solve all of his problems?
Yes. I think it was my assistant that came up with the example. She said, it's like these guys they need to go into a hospital, but they come to your living room and they're bleeding and they've got all these problems. And so they enjoy the attention of you trying to take care of them, but really they need an actual doctor and they need to be in a hospital. And I was like, wow, that is such a great example. Like, I'm not qualified to help you. Like, that's not what you do in a relationship. You don't help somebody overcome paralyzing social anxiety disorder on your first date. That's way too much stuff to bring. You know what I mean?
It takes years of therapy to do something like that. Yeah. Somebody you meet online who you want to have a fun relationship is going to be able to help you do that.
Yes. Yeah. So that just made me think of, okay, so let's turn this on to like the girls out there and being ready for a relationship and doing the work. What do you guys think about that? Because I don't really know your backstories. So did either of you do therapy or feel like you had to become ready to be the best version of yourself to finally find each other and have a healthy relationship? Or what did you do kind of as in behind the scenes or your backstory?
So for me, Melissa, I felt like after I created this vision board, I thought to myself, like, am I the woman that this man wants to be with? What do I need to do to fix myself so that I'm healthy mentally and prepared to be loved by someone? And, I think I'm personally always working on making sure that I am the best version of me. There's never a time where I'm like, oh, I'm perfect, I'm done. Mm-hmm. That's it. I'm not improving myself any further. This is as good as it's going to ever be. I'm always like, And I think that that's important when you're in a relationship with somebody too, and we can talk more about this later, but just, evaluating when things go wrong or like an argument kind of crops up, like evaluating, okay, well, how could I have handled that better? What did I contribute to that? Instead of blaming the other person or saying, you know what, if you weren't such a jerk, I wouldn't have to do this, or, like, no, let me just take a moment and think to myself, how can I be a better version of me?
So if you were sitting across from the girls listening, what would you tell them to do if they're like, I can't find somebody? And what would be like the top 3 things you would say to make sure that they are becoming the best version of themselves?
I would first say, are you the woman that the man you want to be with wants to be with?
So how would I know that?
You're like, I want to be with, a man who, loves me for me and, makes a lot of money and, all of these different things. And I would say, all right, well, let's take a look at who you are. Do you think that man wants to be with you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you living in your parents' basement? Are you don't have a job? Do you have any aspirations in life? Do you love yourself? Do you feel good in, different social situations? Are you, emotionally healthy?
Mm-hmm.
Not to use what bait are you using to catch a fish with, but think of it, and I'm going to mansplain. So
Mansplain us.
Who you are is who you attract,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what I mean by the bait and the fish. And you have to have the bait that you want to land the big fish or land the fish that you want to be with.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. I hope that does. And I hope it didn't come off too outdoorsy and woodsy, but
no, it makes sense to me.
But that's what I imagine that kind of statement that you made, Holly, breaks down to.
Yes.
Cool.
So so I don't want people to get this confused with changing who you are. So what did you do? Because you don't want to change who you are, right?
No, absolutely not. Please. You just want to make sure you don't want to conform yourself to fit into this vision that you think the other person wants to be with. You want to be a healthy, happy version of yourself, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. I have a saying that I have been carrying around with me for a long time, and it's no matter where you go, there you are. So always make sure you're in good company. And basically what that means is you can't escape yourself. You can't try to go to, a vacation and think that because you're there, you're going to be a completely different and happy person. Just like I can't think I'm going to put this man into my life and it's going to completely change who I am. No. You have to be happy no matter where you are, no matter who you're with first, before you can input, a man into that situation. So you don't have to change to be the vision of what that man wants. You have to change to be the happiest version of you. Yeah,
I think I was just going to say something like that, where it's you don't want to change for the other person, but if you want to change something about yourself, you want to be more positive, you want to be better at your job, you want to increase your knowledge on something, you want to be more socially outgoing, that's where change is good. But changing to fit into a box that a guy has put you in, that's not the change that you want to do. No. If you want to do the change on your own, I think that's important. If you want to change because you think that all these men out there are looking for that, that's not the kind of change that you want, because you want to be yourself. But you want to change and you want to grow as an individual, but not for a particular guy or the dating scene or whatever you want to do. If that's a little bit clearer on.
Yeah, I think if I can just add one more thing to that, I think Justin makes me want to be a better version of myself. He makes me want to be a better woman. He doesn't make me want to feel like I need to change my hair color or change the way I dress or the way I talk to be acceptable to him. He makes me want to be more happy, more positive. He makes me want to strive and do things better for myself so that I can be a better version of me for him.
That's beautiful.
For
our relationship and for our family. And
it goes the same way for me too. I'm always trying to be better at myself and my life, and this way I'm better for my family and my son and my wife, and being able to provide for us and our future going forward. So it's not just specific to females. It's also for the men out there too.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing that thing again where I'm drifting off it's just so great. It's so, you guys, this is just so, it's like chicken soup for the soul for so many women that are, I can't tell you, it's mainly women listening to this, but there are also, I know there are couples that are going to start listening to this as well, but it's just so refreshing to hear not only a man's perspective, but what I found is so inspiring is hearing a woman be herself. Like the Holly I'm talking to right now is the Holly that I met at Central Park. And it's the Holly that I talked to when we did our little buddy chat. And it's like, I asked you to do this podcast without ever talking to Justin. This is my first time talking to Justin, but I could tell by how you present that there's a good guy back. I know when a woman's in a bad relationship, I can just tell because her personality is like, what's the word? It's like,
muted,
reserved.
It's muted, or it's, there's kind of like a, I don't want to say corrupted, but it's like it's not, seamless.
Authentic.
Yeah. It's not authentic. Like she's not the same person with her girlfriends as she is with him. Like you can see her change or make adjustments because
absolutely
he can't be happy.
What you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
No, God, that's exhausting. I could never live my life like that. What you see is what you get with me, wherever I am.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of girls, they are stuck with, I just have to ask this random question. Justin, when you think of, if you see like I know you're not looking at online dating profiles of men, but like, what do you think of a guy who stands in the mirror with his shirt off, like showing his muscles? Like as a guy, what do you think of that? What kind of a guy is that? Well, or does it make you have a feeling?
Back to the whole bait and tackle. Who is he looking for? You know, who is he trying to attract with that? Is he trying to attract somebody who
loves him for his brains?
Right. Or is committed and looking for a serious relationship where, oh my God, I can see growing old with this person and this person. I mean, listen, everybody needs a little bit of attraction in order to allow their genuine personality to come through. And if that works for that guy, that's good for him, I guess.
But you assume like that's not a guy looking for a long-term relationship. Just as a dude looking at another dude, like that's probably not.
That's a guy who's kind of looking for somebody to take out, be a pretty girl, take her to a bar, take her to a restaurant, show off to her friends, take her in the car, put her up to the bar, take her back out, and then, go on with his life maybe. I don't really know.
Basically what he's trying to say in a polite way is he's looking for somebody he can take home for the night and then that's it.
Right. He's looking like, how many girls can I attract with this? Meanwhile, I'm messed up upstairs, or I'm just not really thinking about that, He's playing on his strengths, I guess, to attract women who are interested in that.
Yes. Okay. Public service announcement, ladies. Avoid shirtless men. I had a police officer tell me, I asked him something like, what is it like to be a police officer? And he goes, I don't know, but the guy without a shirt is always guilty. So funny. And if you watch like cop shows, there's always like a random shirtless guy. Like he comes out of the house and I'm like, God, this happens a lot. Like the shirtless guy is always guilty. So funny. Yeah. And I feel like this is just like a total sidebar, but I feel like a lot of women are like leaning in. Like, what about, because it's usually not one shirtless selfie. It's like 4 different poses at the gym. But then he'll have like normal pictures too. So you're like,
a little alarming for me.
I mean,
okay,
like a indication that he's leaning too strongly into his physical attributes, which means that he may not have anything else to offer, and or he's only looking to be physical.
To counterpoint that too, on the other side of it, here's a guy, who is very disciplined because he's muscular, he's working out in the gym. Sure. Again, we're prejudging an image that we see here, but this kind of maybe speaks to the fact how disciplined he is and how committed to his fitness he is. Like that's something else that could be put out there. And just to kind of balance it off on both sides, we're not hunting these guys down or anything, but this could be a man who, he likes spending 2 hours in the gym because he feels he's healthy. He feels he's stronger.
Yeah.
He's committed, like to get that way, you have to be committed to working out. It is very difficult to bodybuild and to increase strength, So I don't know if that's something, just adds a little bit of another viewpoint on things. But again,
maybe one picture like that, but
sure,
4.
Right.
But it definitely tells you that he's not modest.
So if he adds like a duck face with it, then maybe that's the ultimate veto. You guys, you have no idea how many guys are doing the duck face. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is like, they're copying Kim Kardashian. Like guys are doing the duck face.
Maybe they're looking for other guys.
I've dated those too. I just went out with a guy 3 months ago, and he asked me what hot guys, what like actors I thought were hot, and I was kind of like thinking, I don't know, I don't really have a favorite right now, and I couldn't even get that word out. And he was like, "What about Chris Hemsworth? He's pretty hot." And then he Googled Chris Hemsworth and pulled it up on his phone. I was like, "Are we looking at hot guys together?" I was like, all of a sudden, and he's a good looking guy. I'm like, he's macho. He works for the UN for security. I mean, it was like, wow, okay, so you're pulling up hot men. Like, I can't capacity. I just couldn't think, like, all the straight men I know have never pulled up a hot guy on Google.
It's not really a straight guy thing to do.
No. And then he even
I imagine Justin doing that. And I couldn't imagine him do it with a straight face.
I know. I ask a lot of my gay friends, like, guys, I'm like, what is going on with gay men dating straight women? They're like, oh, it happens all the time. So that's a whole nother podcast. But yeah, I need to do that podcast at some point.
For a gay couple.
Yes, definitely. So, okay. So that was like my sidebar of just sometimes these ridiculous things, but this is the reality of what we're seeing on. It's not just Tinder that it's this ridiculous. It's Match.com. All of these websites have, they have like these selfies too. Like, you're looking at a guy, and a guy that will take maybe 5 or 6 selfies, different poses. What my favorite is, I'm in my bedroom. I'm sitting over here. Now I'm over here. Now I'm laying on my bed. Now, I know what I think of that, but I just want to hear, like, what do you guys think of? Because I would say this is about 90% of online dating photos. It's multiple selfies of guys, and a lot of, like, I'm in the car, I'm laying on my bed, in the bathroom mirror. The bathroom mirror is like the number one, which if guys only knew, every chick's looking at how clean your bathroom is and like all the crap on the counter, and you're like zooming in, and there's always like evidence on the counter. So all the girls are zooming in. What is on your bathroom counter? We're not looking at the muscles. But I just like, is it just the same? You guys just think that that's all just insecurity showing through and not somebody that is evolved in, as intellectually?
I think that you need to obviously look at it and as a whole and take it with a grain of salt. And then, if you're interested in pursuing, you start a conversation. I think more importantly, and above all of this, is making sure you're clear first and foremost on what you're looking for. And then again, going back to that one key piece of advice, are you the woman that the man you want to be with wants to be with? And understanding that people will take cues from you on how you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. So besides the photos and the profiles and this and that and the other thing, like, you being clear and confident on who you're looking for and what you're looking for and what kind of the tone that you set on how you want to be treated as a woman. Mm-hmm. I think those two things are more important than, somebody could post the most ridiculous photos or the best photos, or, their profile can be contrived in any sort of way. But once you go past that and you meet somebody, it is about, and it doesn't necessarily, getting clear on those first two things, like, are you the woman that the man you want to be with wants to be with, and understanding that you set the tone on how people will treat you. Mm-hmm. You can meet a man just in general in life, at the coffee shop, you might want to meet somebody there, or you might happen to run across somebody there. So above and beyond the profile, I think everything, looking at it, you need to take it with a grain of salt, and meeting people again, like in person, in physical, real world life, where people used to meet. Mm-hmm.
I think again, it's also, you're looking at an image, and that image is designed to catch your attention. Like, they're doing that men I believe are doing that on purpose in order to catch their attention of a woman. And again, as long as you have some expectations of what you're looking for when you meet that person, and they have to meet some of those non-negotiables, I guess, that you would have as check marks, like, and if they don't, you have every right to say, hey, listen, this has been fun, but, I'm not interested. And I think you have the right to move on and find somebody who you are looking for,
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it sounds so simple. And I thank you guys for allowing me to kind of go into, I hope people can hear how ridiculous it sounds for me to ask these questions. Like, what do you think of multiple shirtless photos? But this is like the mindset people get into when it's like when you're online dating for month 4 and you're like, yes, oh my God. Then you start to really analyze, well, maybe you start to kind of lower the standard because
you get like so submerged into this reality, this warped reality that you start to lose perspective. And I think that I could have went down that rabbit hole, but I paused myself to create that vision board so that I can get super clear on what it was that I was looking for.
And then you just eliminated everybody else. Like it was
absolutely.
So
I don't have time for that.
Okay. So did you, I have this phrase that we've been using in Gumball Love, filter like a freak. You know, my therapist would say, you've got to filter. He's like, your job is to filter. And then I was on a broadcast one time. I was like, you have to filter like a freak. So it sounds like you did. You filtered like a freak. You literally just, you were like, nope. Did you eliminate like tons of guys? Was it just like, nope, not you, delete?
Yeah. I mean, I had very specific things that I was looking for. Not that I was like super like, oh, the guy has to be like this or like this. I don't know how to explain it in a way that it wasn't like, I wasn't like gone, but it was more about, I think the process of me just getting clear on what I wanted that helped rise the right people to the top. I don't know, maybe it's like an energy thing.
It starts with you. It really does start with you and what you're willing to do. And, you know, how you're willing to be responsible for your own well-being and your own kind of your journey on this dating experience that you're having, you know, and it's your job to identify somebody who has the confidence and is secure enough to be with you. I think
qualities.
You also have to identify. You just can't, we're going on a date and I'm having fun. You have to be evaluating constantly. And I'm speaking kind of maybe as if I did have a daughter. We don't have a daughter, but you have to make sure that the guy who's sitting across from you is a confident, caring, strong person who meets those check boxes on you and fits what you're needing, I guess, at that time.
Did you have a shirtless selfie picture?
Everyone has one of those.
I don't remember. I wish I had a copy of his profile.
That's the funniest interruption ever.
For the thumbnail.
He's going on and on. Did you have a shirtless selfie picture? Justin.
I had a bathroom selfie picture, though.
Did you really?
Yeah, I think so.
Know, there was definitely, you know what? He had a picture where his shirt was kind of open a little bit.
And you took it in, at least, was your bathroom clean? I mean, okay.
Right.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Melissa?
I said, was the bathroom clean with the bathroom selfie at least?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so that was a non-negotiable for me. I can't be with a messy man.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't think I could handle it either. I'm pretty psycho about.
Very clean, but I hate cleaning.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, right? I will clean up right after I'm doing something, like make it all nice and be done with it, but I will not just leave a mess out and then, we got to clean this week. So, you know.
That's
one
nice.
point for me.
That is huge.
Non-negotiables.
Yeah, the toilet seat, that was another one.
Yeah. So I think like when you're saying become clear on what you want and who you are, it's sort of underestimated of what that would look like. That's kind of why I've created this program called Back to You, because I've been working with all these women and I'm like, you know what? I can tell you about guys and I can tell you about relationship dynamics, but if you don't focus on yourself and figure out who you are and what you want, then
absolutely.
You're constantly distracted by, well, maybe I want to date this artist guy who, you know, I don't know, sings in a band in Chinatown or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Like getting clear on your business. Like you can't be everything to everyone. Don't tell me you're making a product that is going to fit everyone's needs. That's not true. And if that's what you're doing, you're wasting your time. You're wasting everybody else's time. So cut it out. What you need to do is get clear on who your audience is, what your product is. You're the product, and who's the audience for that product. You need to be clear about that. You can't sell it to everybody. So, Justin, a lot of my girls are strong, like Holly. Like, you know, she's not a weak woman. She speaks her mind. So, obviously, you married her. You loved her immediately. And a lot of women that are strong, like Holly, and they're outspoken and they're confident and successful, they feel like so many men are intimidated by that. So what would you say to women that I'm like, you know, you go on these dates and they're like, they find out what you do for a living, or they find out you make a little bit of money and they get kind of threatened, or you can tell it bothers them.
Well, that's not the right guy. That's absolutely not the right guy for you, because if that's the case, then there's something wrong with them.
So you don't think you should hide your success or not be as open with what you do?
I think I think you should be looking for somebody who is on the same success path as you. I think that's important too. Two people who are rising together can move a lot forward than somebody rising up and an anchor who is so upset that you're moving. Oh, you got another promotion. Oh, I lost my job last week. That's a person who's different than you. And also again, going back to what I would tell my daughter is like, you need to have a man sitting across from you who is confident in who he is, not arrogant. Now, there's a big difference, obviously between arrogance and confidence, but he has to be confident in who he is and his abilities to be with you and also grow with you. A lot of men, I think there's a saying, what's the saying? Men marry women hoping they'll never change, and women marry men hoping to change them. Like a lot of men, like they just want to go play softball on the weekends, and they just want to play ice hockey and drink beers and hang out with their buddies, and they think they can be doing that when they're 60 years old or 50 years old or 40 years old. And you have to evaluate the guy across from you. If he's intimidated by your success, then he's not the right guy. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, because you both have to be moving in the same direction.
I love that.
Up.
I love that.
Me
Like
too.
a balloon and an anchor. You don't want a balloon and an anchor, and you don't want to be an anchor and an anchor. You want to be two balloons.
I love that. It's like a book title. I can see the cover.
Oh, we're writing a book. Don't hashtag copyrighted. Hashtag copyrighted.
Nice. All right. We're going to edit this part out, so keep it. That's really amazing. I mean, okay, so sometimes I'm kind of playing the devil's advocate, and I'm also asking questions with the lens of what mainstream. So, Justin, I'm going to be the devil's advocate. And I'm going to say, but what about the men that, you need to be careful about their ego, because men have fragile egos. So you need to be careful, and, you might be really successful, but don't lead with that. Be more feminine and, just show your fun side and be, just be like easygoing and light. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the best way to approach a situation, or a date or meeting somebody new. Be easy and light. You don't have to, throw that out there on the first date that you wear power suits on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and you're in the line next in line for the promotion, or you killed it this month. Like,
you don't have to brag.
Yeah, you don't have to brag. You don't have to brag.
But you don't have to diminish your accomplishments to make somebody else feel better about themselves either.
There's a way to be tactful, and there's a way to be tactful even if you're a guy around that stuff. You don't have to brag about that stuff if you're a man, like you can kind of let it slip out easily in conversation after a while. And it's kind of like anything else in life. I don't think you should lead with all those things unless you're really trying to sell yourself to this other person across the table from you, where it's like, hey, this is this is all I've done, and here's my resume, and this and this and this and this. Like, let it be light. Let it be positive. See if you have good, fun chemistry with each other for a little bit. I think that's important,
Yes.
as opposed to, delving into the, what do you do? Well, I do this and I do that. And, and worrying about somebody else's ego. Try to make it fun and light. And again, I think women have to constantly be evaluating their opportunity with the person who's sitting across from them. I think that's very important. Because again, you don't want to waste time, because if the guy is looking to waste time, you don't want to be there if that's what you don't want to do. If that makes sense, right?
Yes.
I think probably, and I'm maybe making a broad generalization here, but I'm assuming that your audience is looking for, long-term relationships, not just, fun encounters.
Fun dating,
Fun dating.
They're not enjoying
they're looking
dating
to get,
anymore.
They're looking for a serious relationship. They're looking to get married, So, you have to be evaluating from the beginning. Like, is this somebody that I could potentially see marrying, or is this somebody that I can just have a good time with for a little while? Which is fine if you're 20 or, in your 20s and that's what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want a serious relationship and you want to take things to the next level, then you have to be looking at all of the different elements that, are important to you. Does this person have these attributes? Do they have the qualities? If I want to have children, do I think that this man is going to be a good dad?
You're always judging, but, I don't think you want to let them know that you're always evaluating. Let me say evaluating, you're always kind of evaluating what's going on and just being like, can I see myself with this person? Does this person want to be with me? I think that might be a bigger question that gets asked most of the time, where, if they're dating around and they're playing the game, and, do you want to put up with that stuff?
So what do you think about playing the game? Because I think what I was asking earlier is like when there's advice that says, like not to show up giving your resume, but sometimes men will be threatened by women just because she says, what do you do? Oh, I'm a lawyer. Oh, wow, you're a lawyer. And then there's this immediate like, oh, and then she feels like, oh, should I not say I'm a lawyer right away? Or should I not say where I live? Sometimes it's like, oh, you live in Manhattan? Oh,
right.
And then you can tell immediately. So I'm talking about basic stuff, not like, oh, I just closed $1 million deal and I'm cashing my $100,000 commission. But it's like, I live in Manhattan, or I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. Like I know a lot of women who have high level positions and they're trying to date men. It's like they're really good in their lives, but then they go to date and it's like these men cannot deal with their level of success.
They're choosing the wrong men.
Absolutely.
Because there are men out there who can handle being with a confident, successful woman and, be happy for her.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why the men are having those reactions is because there's something within them that is incapable of competing with a woman. And that's something they need to work on, not something you need to work on. Don't ever diminish who you are, your accomplishments, the things that you do, stuff that you worked hard for and are proud of to be with somebody else. So Justin and I went to our baby vet, as we call her. And she told us a funny story. And the story was that.
Wait, your baby vet? What?
Yeah. A pediatrician.
Oh.
Well, we had a dog for a long time. We would take the dogs to the vet all the time, and the baby's only 6 months old. So we mix it up in our brain, just like, oh, we're going to the baby vet.
I was like, okay.
She tells us a story about how, she lived really close to the school that her children attended, and her kindergartner rode his bike to school for the first time. And
a two-wheel bike, no training wheels.
Two-wheel bike, no training wheels. And when the father came to pick him up later that day, the principal came out and said, we don't think that it's a good idea that your son rides his bike to school because there are some other children in the class who don't know how to ride bikes yet, and it's intimidating for them.
Oh, wow.
So the next time you feel like you're intimidating somebody, I want you to think of that story. Like, don't diminish who you are, the things that you worked hard for to fit into somebody else's idea of who you should be.
Yeah.
Amen.
If somebody is taken back that you're a lawyer and their demeanor changes to one of just a not thrilled to have you sitting across from them anymore, that's the wrong guy.
Wrong guy.
I'll be honest with you, like, get up and leave.
Date's over.
Oh, you're upset about it? I mean, do whatever you want, but I'm just saying, full disclosure, but at that point you're just dating the wrong guy. And you do have to kind of be with somebody on your same, I'll say it, you should be interacting with somebody on your same socioeconomic level.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to date somebody who is much lower than you or much higher than you, because it's a different culture.
Mm-hmm. True.
You are, I'm blue collar straight up through and through. Right. And I have a lot of friends, blue collar.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are, and I'm working myself out of that. Not that it's bad. Like, think about like Good Will Hunting,
Yeah.
You want to date Good Will Hunting, or and go back to his little, neighborhood bar, and that's where you guys are drinking, and guys just like drink, you got to think about what you're looking for that, I guess. And, in that same, I don't know if this is making any sense.
No, totally.
That socioeconomic level that you're at, you don't want to date below it.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, you want to be dating a little higher, because you want to be raising yourself up with somebody who's raising up also, I guess, if that's what it is. The two balloons theory.
The two balloons, yeah.
If somebody is offended by that or their demeanor changes, enjoy the evening with them, and that's that, and just move on to the next one, I guess. And I don't know if that's
love it.
Too harsh to say, but
no, I don't think it's too harsh, because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not married. And that's why I want to have as many couples on this podcast as I can, so people can hear all these different perspectives. But the older I get, the more I realize, if I'm going to choose someone to be married to, I can't, they're going to be in my house every single day. I have to be completely comfortable. I have to be totally accepted.
Yeah.
To try to force yourself to live under those circumstances, because some of these guys will marry you. They will be with you, but at a cost.
I mean, here's an example. I had a friend at work, a place that we went to eat, and I found out that the bartender lived in close to our neighborhood here where we live now. And, he's like, we talk about the neighborhood a little bit. He's like, hey, listen, Friday night, I'm at this bar. Come on down and hang out. And I thought to myself, yeah, maybe. I told him, yeah, definitely, I'll do it. Meanwhile, in the back of my brain, I'm like, I don't want to go sit in a bar for 6 hours and drink with this guy and hang out and meet people who sit in a bar near the train tracks. You don't want to do that.
Right.
I want to meet other people who are in different clubs, and they are, doing other things in the community. They're invested in the community. They're doing positive things in the community instead of just sitting in the bar, living bar culture, which is a culture that I was involved in for a long time in my early 20s, but I don't want to do that anymore. It's not what I'm looking for. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to date that guy in that socioeconomic level,
yes,
then don't do it. If you're above that, there's nothing wrong with being above it.
Well, the thing is, it's just your different place in your life. I think don't make any compromises. You shouldn't have to make any compromises when you're choosing the person that you want to be with for
this is your life.
For the rest of your life. Exactly. Don't make a compromise when it comes to what you want for dinner. What you want for dinner, not who you're going to spend the rest of your life with and potentially create human beings together with. Are you for real? That's no.
Yeah.
No. There's certain things that are acceptable, and other things that are non-negotiable.
What I love hearing from both of you is I feel like either of you could speak on behalf of each other at any point if you needed each other, but you're so independent on your own. Like you are two completely individual and two complete people on your own. It's like there's 100% of a person here and 100%. And you both can you could both what is it called? Is it pinch hitting? Is that right? Where somebody hits, where you come in and I was like, I don't know that term, but you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like you guys can cover each other. And that's ultimately what you're looking for is the partner, the team player, the one that can, hey, can you, help out with this? But so many women do not think that this is reality, or they have been with men for so long that have, Justin, I don't know if you know about my gumball love theory, where it's so funny. You're on the podcast. You may not even know, but I created this concept where
tell me about it.
I created this concept about men who are seeking attention versus men that are seeking connection. And what I figured out, what'd you say? I'm sorry. Children, yes. They're acting like children, where you meet them, and when I see shirtless in the gym, I see give me attention. But when I see a guy that's with friends and family and taking normal photos, then I see a lifestyle and he wants connection. He's looking for partnership. And so differentiating that. So the gumball represents a quick fix. So you get the gumball, it gives you a dopamine rush, which attention also gives a dopamine rush in the brain. And so these guys are living, and then when they're high, when they have that high, they can seem, because some of these guys, it's not like they're all just, gym thugs that are just there are some guys that are still the gumball guy. They're still seeking attention, but they are incredibly intelligent. But they will date you, and they will be extremely intense in the beginning. Like they come on really strong. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I met you. This is so great. And you feel like you're having this incredible romance. Like it's so intoxicating, and they're texting all the time and they're emailing. There's this overwhelming communication. And so you fall in love with them. And then all of a sudden it stops and they start to act moody. Then they pull away, and then they're not as available all of a sudden. And this used to boggle my mind. I would be like, what is happening? What happened to this guy that was so great? And my conclusion was, well, he was high off of attention, and he liked this infatuation period because he had such a low self-esteem, but my attention was making him temporarily feel good about himself. And so I interpreted that guy as who he really was. But then as the newness wears off, I always say you can't be new twice, then you start to see who the real guy is. And this is the epidemic pattern that I thought was just the guys I was dating, where I was like, why do I keep feeling like I'm getting swept off my feet? And these guys are presenting as, they seem great, but then all of a sudden it changes. And then you're questioning, well, okay, what happened to that guy from the beginning? And is he going to come back? And then you hear all the issues he's got. Well, I'm having this problem at work, or I'm fighting with my parents, or, then you start hearing the reality. And then what I would do is I would spend the rest of the relationship really trying to help him with those things so we could get back to where we were in that blissful first 3 months or.
Yeah, I completely agree with your theory, and it makes sense. It's like when it's new and it's exciting, and as you start to deal with real issues, you start to think this sucks. This isn't the drug that I had before. This social internalized dopamine, like you said, that gets released when you're having this love moment in the beginning of a relationship. When you start dealing with the real life,
day-to-day real life stuff.
When it starts to become like you realize that, hey, a relationship is just, two people who live together, sleep together, and constantly asking each other, what do you want to eat? That kind of makes it like, what are we doing here? I guess. And that becomes boring to some people. They may need that.
That constant newness.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I love you saying you can't be new twice.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So what would you say, like, what kind of a guy, what are some attributes? I've actually never asked a guy this. What are some attributes of a guy that isn't going to get bored of that kind of day to day? What do you want to eat? What's on TV? How is work? What do you think, like, if you were going to tell your daughter, what does that guy look like? How does he show up?
Well, that's a great question. So I don't know how to answer it, but I guess I'm sorry, go ahead.
I can answer it.
Go ahead.
Because I know how you show up. He comes confident. He's confident, and he has a genuine interest in being a family man and being a relationship guy and being a team player. I think that's extremely important. It's not all about him and it's not all about me. And I don't want it to be all about me, and I don't want it to always be all about him. We are together as a team. We lift each other up. When he is unhappy, the team is unhappy, and we rally to make sure the team's happy again, and that I
think keeping it new, but getting back to what she was saying, like keeping it new, I think you either have to keep introducing new things to do into the relationship, or he has to. And I think that's key too. Like, hey, let's go do this. Like when Holly and I started dating, I was like, what do you want to do? And she's like, let's go do this, and let's go make it so. Let's go. Like that's the kind of not control I gave to Holly, but like, let's go do this. I enjoy being around you. Let's go do this, And again, I think if you get to a certain point and you start to see that there's a common denominator of problems in the other person's life, that's a flag to me. Like eventually you're going to have to look at what the common denominator is of all his problems and say, oh, it's you.
Right.
Like,
I figured it out.
Oh man,
mystery
I know
solved.
what your problem is. I can't say it because it's you.
Yeah.
I think that's something if you really get down that road, and now listen, you're not supposed to give up on people like drop of the hat, but if you start to realize, wow, it's always somebody else's fault. It's always this person's problem. It's always somebody else doing this to me. I'm always getting screwed. Like that's their problem, and the problem lies in them as opposed to somebody who takes responsibility. And I think a quote my father gave me when I was young, I think it was like 12 or 13. I did something stupid. I don't know what I did, but I was like, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. And he's like, he pulled me aside. This is the best piece of information he ever gave me. He said, you're never going to be a man until you take responsibility for everything that happens to you in your life. It's just not going to happen. So if it's somebody else's fault all the time, you're just never going to be a man. You're going to always be a child, And I'm not trying to say that to be harsh to men out there who are acting like children, but
that's okay. We can be harsh to those men. They need it. We'll give them a swift kick in the butt if they're even listening to this podcast. I don't think that kind of guy listens to this kind of podcast, but that's okay. But I think it's just it's so simple. And this is like when I started doing research and talking to quality men like you, Justin, like when you say it, it's like, oh, it's just like, duh, this is easy. Yeah, I do walk out of that date and I do move on and I do deserve better. But if you don't have healthy men to talk to, and I'm telling you what, Justin, you might be the only voice of a healthy man that some women will hear, because I asked them in every coaching session, how many men do you know? How many couples? Because I had cousins and friends, but I really never hung out with the men in their lives because I had low self-esteem and I thought, well, I don't think that Lee would want to hang out with me. I would like leave when he got home. Like I didn't understand, that I could have a relationship with my cousin's husband. I just assumed that I would be like, oh, your husband's home. Okay, well, I'll see you later. And I didn't understand the importance of, I remember Lee was like, well, why don't you hang out and have a beer with us? And I was like, oh, okay. And so then I'm sitting there and I realized this was 10 years ago. I didn't even really understand how to talk to a guy and have a conversation that wasn't like a coworker or in a romantic relationship. I was uncomfortable even having the dialogue, didn't realize that I could speak so comfortably and it just helped me get more comfortable in my own skin, hearing and then I started really spending time with girlfriends and getting to know their husbands. And then I have 5 beautiful cousins that I've all found great men. So I can literally go home and I go to Nebraska and spend time around 6 couples actually. And they're just fantastic. And now it's like a whole different perspective, but I didn't have that before. I didn't utilize the resource. I'm always telling women, go talk to healthy men, like, because and they're like, what do I say or what do I ask? But like, we dragged you on the phone. We're like, hey, Justin, what are you doing? Gonna do a podcast on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. But I mean, it's like, we need you guys because it's so important that we hear like your dad and your mom raised you correctly to take responsibility and be a man and turn into an adult. And we're dating these kids and we don't realize we're dating a child.
What's more better than to say, I'm a functioning member of society and I provide for my family and I have pride for providing my family, and that's my job, my role.
I make my family happy. That's really important. I see in a lot of people's marriages where, they're just constantly at each other's throat. They're not interested in making each other happy. They just want to, play this blame.
It's always a competition.
Blame game. And it's like a race to the bottom. Whereas, you need to, like Justin said, take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah. You don't want to be at each other's throats. You don't want to be negative about it, I guess. So you really have to be responsible for your actions and take pride in knowing the fact that this is my family. This is
when they hurt, I hurt. Yeah. I don't want them to hurt. I mean, I think we both have that outlook on our relationship. And when we got married, Justin's parents stood up at our wedding and they gave a speech. And two things that are funny, right? So my mother-in-law says, rule number 1 to happy marriage.
This is advice for me.
Yeah.
Your wife is always right. Rule number 2, if you think your wife was wrong, look at rule number 1. And then his dad says, no matter which one you pick, it's going to be the wrong one. So just pick somebody.
But again, in a good-hearted way.
Yes. That's great.
We've been married over 40 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they did a wonderful.
They're madly in love still.
They did a wonderful job raising, the beautiful man that I call my husband today, and I thank them for that because he's stable. He is interested in, creating a happy life for us because he understands that we're in this together.
Yes,
and I think also you talked about before about change. I mean, even after I've met Holly, I've had to change. I don't play ice hockey anymore. We don't.
You didn't play ice hockey when I met you.
Wait, I don't play piano anymore.
Ooh, he just got. Dang, that violin! I don't play it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I don't go sit in Ranger games anymore. That's kind of fallen off the map. Where it's like I don't want to do that.
You're just not interested in it anymore.
Right. No, because he's grown, I've grown. We're not the same people we were when we started dating, and that's okay because we've grown together.
Yeah.
Instead of apart.
I was thinking about something just out of curiosity, but I have spent a tremendous amount of time working on myself. And this is part of what I'm teaching in this program. But I found that the more I've worked on myself, the more comfortable I got in my own skin. And then it's like there was this shift that happened. And I don't know if you can relate to this or if I'm just kind of in my own world, but like as I got more comfortable and happy with myself and my life, then I found when I was on dates, the guys were like way too serious for me. And I was like, why aren't we just like laughing and having fun and like, going dinner and like just being, I'm not too silly, but like I feel like
playful and positive.
Yeah, playful and positive, because when you're happy and you're comfortable, that's kind of like, yes, you need compatibility, but I found that being in a more mature state of mind and being more secure in who I was realizing, wow, everybody in this whole online dating world is like, everybody's insecure. Everybody's just like, they can't have fun anymore. And when I'm coaching women, I'm like, they'll go through this whole thing and I'll say, did you have fun on the date? And they're like, oh, and it's like the whole aspect of fun is sort of because they're just so paralyzed by, am I doing the right thing or saying the right thing? And I just feel like if you're compatible, it should almost be, I tell girls, if you're on the date with the right guy, you won't be thinking about Melissa's advice on gumball love. It will all like fade off into what, like, it'll just be like, you'll just be having so much fun that the time will be flying by and you'll just be enjoying each other. Is that an accurate?
That is an accurate.
You want people to get as happy as possible and stop listening to your podcast. That's
yes. I know.
Yes. It is the right person. You lose track of time. You laugh. You have a good time. You aren't self-conscious. You aren't thinking about like, damn, did I leave the door unlocked?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotta feed my cat.
I have to feed my cat. Oh man, I should have told somebody to call me to help me break up this date.
Gotta feed my cat. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you guys all day. This is so this is just amazing. Like, I know even as hard as I've worked on myself and as comfortable as I am, it's still like so encouraging. Every time I'm like, this is just like, it's like a shot in the arm to really just hold out for the right person. And if you don't have that blissful, like happy, laughing, just enjoying life and time flying by, like, it's not worth it. Like, why would you settle? You can't settle. Yeah.
Don't settle. I was 32 when I met Justin, 32 years old. And I was 36 when we got married.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 40 when we had our first baby.
Hey, wait a second. You're getting older every time. What's going on here?
And
wait a second.
Yeah. So again, we can't be saying we're
29.
old. Oh, okay.
No,
that's the one lie is her age. She never told you. Sorry, Justin, you had to hear it here. She's older than 29.
Breaking news.
Well, he doesn't care that I'm getting older. We're getting better together.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell you, he's getting older too, but it's fine. We're getting older together and it's great.
Yes.
So funny. So can we just tell you a funny little story?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've dated men and, I've caught them looking at other women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's annoying, but I'm like, yeah, whatever. I know they do it, but just, I can tell you, I've never, ever, ever seen Justin look at another woman. I know he does. I'm sure he does. He's never done it in front of me.
I mean, I have to interact with women, sometimes in life,
But you know
right.
what I'm saying, right? He has enough respect for me and our relationship to not be, blatant about it, right?
I'm not sitting on my phone pulling up Google images of
he's
Margot
not
Robbie or something.
Right.
Googling up women to stare at instead of having a conversation with me. But I was out walking the dog and pushing the baby, and I hear, like a car pull up next to me, and I look over and it's Justin. And go ahead, you want to tell the rest of the story?
I'm coming up the block and I see a woman, and I'm like, oh, this woman is pushing a stroller, walking a dog. I've never seen this woman in our neighborhood before. I'm like, oh my God, look at this woman. Who is this woman?
Like, she looks hot.
Holly was wearing these great white pants. So I was like, oh, look at this woman, like she has a lot of common interests. We have a baby. She has a baby. We have a dog. She has a dog. Like, I'm like, we need to meet this woman, just as a friend, so I pull up to her and it's my wife. And I'm like, oh, hey, what's up?
Oh, hey, I already did marry her. And wait, that's my kid.
I was like, wait a second, that's my wife, and that's my baby, and that's my dog. Oh, hey, I already know this woman. Right.
Instant family. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. That's so great. That's so great. And she is hot. Like, how many miles do you run a day, Holly?
Well, tomorrow's the race.
Tomorrow I'm running my second half marathon, which is 13.1 miles.
Yikes. I can't even like get the treadmill going above 3.5 for very long.
She's gonna run it.
So here's a fun fact. Justin tricked me. When we were dating, he used to run with me all the time.
No.
And it's funny because he says that I tricked him because when we were dating, I used to go to Ranger games with him all the time. But you see, we can laugh about things like that, and we have that kind of lightheartedness in our relationship.
I guess having a running partner was not a non-negotiable.
No, that was not a non-negotiable. I can run by myself.
Yeah.
It was just fun when we did it together, but we do other things together.
And if you really you were like, hey, I really want to go to hockey games again, that would not be a problem in your relationship. Like, hey, I want to go.
You know, if she said that, I'd grab her by the scruff of her neck and be like, "Where's Holly? And what have you done with her?"
No, I don't. You know, it's not that I don't want to go to hockey games anymore. His parents used to have season tickets, and now they don't have season tickets anymore.
Oh yeah, that is a deterrent. If you know, no good seats, it's like, or once you've gone into the club seating, then
game tickets, we can still go.
Sure.
Yeah,
we'll go.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys, this has been so great. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this. How much so many girls are just dying. They're so excited. They're direct messaging me like, I'm so happy you're doing this. And so you guys are the second couple. So you'll be very memorable in this whole series of, I'm just going to keep it going. So if you know of any other couples, please, tell me or send them my way. Cause I would love to have I would love to just transfer these to a whole different podcast and just do nothing but couple interviews, because I think it just is so needed, because our society looks at, I don't know, there's all these mainstream quote unquote ideas about marriage, about like even this whole concept of monogamy not being natural, and that it's perfectly natural for a man to seek other relationships outside of the marriage, or be married but have an open relationship. What do you guys think about that? Just as a quick, maybe it's not a quick thought, but I'm just curious.
To each his own, if that's what a couple decides together as a couple, that they want to have an open marriage, then that's their business.
Wait, that's a choice?
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We should do that?
I'll let you guys talk offline now. Yeah.
I think the idea that monogamy is not a reality is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think the most important thing in any relationship is open communication.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We have a mantra that we've kind of lived by even when we were dating.
Yeah.
And we actually engraved it in our rings, and it's always do more.
Mm.
If both people are always doing more, then there isn't that bitter, you left the fork in the sink again.
Mm-hmm.
Just pick the fork up and put it in the dishwasher.
Right.
Just put the toilet seat down.
Just do the thing. It doesn't matter. Just do it.
Always do more. And as long as both people are always doing more, that's key though. That both people have to pick up slack on either person's part, because you are a partnership, you're a team. You want to make sure that you're always doing more. And after 3 or 4 years of marriage, we think we're going to change it.
We changed it.
We changed the saying.
What?
The saying has now become always tolerate more.
Always tolerate more.
If I'm always tolerating more and he's always tolerating more, we have nothing to argue about.
Nobody's going to leave.
Yes. Oh, that's so great. This is awesome, you guys. Well, I could talk to you again all day long, and this has just been so helpful. So thank you again. Do you guys have any final thoughts, anything else you want to add?
I think my final thought is, again, when you're looking for the right person, look no further than yourself.
I love that.
To kind of build on what Holly says, you have to be self-sufficient in your own body. And I think, and in your own mental state and everything like that. And you shouldn't be looking outside for that. And you should always be confident, but not arrogant, and humble with your confidence, but be looking to just, I guess, be confident in who you are. That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
And always be evaluating. If the other person is right for you, you'll get better at picking up on when they're not the right person, just like any other skill that you learn as you're moving forward, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's a beautiful, beautiful summation. You guys, thank you again. And Holly, I would love for you to tell everybody how they can find you, because I don't think that we can call on Justin to help us with our individual electricity and lighting needs. But I definitely know that there are some girls out there that could use some help with video. And so where can we find you, or if anyone wants to reach out to you or connect with you?
Sure, absolutely. You can find me on all the social platforms at Holly G Studios. And then my website is Holly G Studios. And if you want to send me a personal message, I'm open. You can email me at Holly G Studios.
Ah, awesome. And she's not Jennifer Garner, but just know that you might be confused. I always think you're Jennifer Garner. Every time you come on my feed, I'm like, oh no, that's all. I swear, I follow Jennifer and you, and I'm always thinking you're her. So yes, you're beautiful.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Yes, I know. She's gorgeous. You're very beautiful. Holly had some bonus material. So tell your story, Holly.
So I remember, being 30 in my early 30s and having a conversation with, a woman in my life. And, she said, it's okay if you bat for the other team, because I wasn't married and I didn't have any children. And she was confused and thought maybe I might be, a lesbian, which is, there's nothing wrong with being a lesbian, but I'm not a lesbian. And the thing that really irked me was that she jumped to this conclusion based on, this idea or concept that society puts upon women, that if you're not married by a certain age or you're not having children by a certain age, that either there's something wrong with you, or that maybe you're a lesbian, or you're not interested in, having a relationship with a man. And that just irritated me, because I shouldn't feel pressured by society or anybody else in my life to conform to what their idea of how I should be living my life is. I'm going to get married when I get married. I'm going to have children when I have children, if and when I do or I don't. And it's nobody else's business, and nobody should ever make me feel any kind of way because I am or am not.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember being infuriated by this comment. Like, who the hell are you to judge me and my life and the decisions that I'm making, and accuse me like it's a negative thing, that if I'm, this way or that way, then it's, I don't know. The whole thing just drove me insane. So
yeah,
don't feel like you have to be pressured because you're of a certain age, or, the generations behind us did things a different way. And it's okay if that's not how you want to live your life.
Here's a great follow-up to that story too. We went to the ear doctor the other day because I get tested for my ears through my employment every year, and I feel that they're always lying to me because it's a company test. And my wife agrees, because she says I don't hear her when she speaks. So we went to an ear doctor and we did the tests, and we're sitting down with the doctor, and he goes, your hearing's fine. It's perfect. Don't worry about it. And one thing I don't do is get involved in relationship issues. Two main things I have couples in here for are, one, he can't hear me, so his hearing must be bad. And two, he snores too much, it goes to the ear, and it was an ENT doctor.
Right.
So he's sitting there and he goes, he's just, talking with us. And he basically goes, did you know, I read a study, because we were expressing how old we were, and we'd gotten married later in life, and we had a 6-month-old, and he had, I think, a 21-year-old, a 17 and 14-year-old. And we were kind of just talking about how we did get married a little later in life. And he said, you know what? He read something the other day where this is the first time in a 5-year period where the divorce rate has dropped. And they say that's because people are not rushing into marriage with the first guy who tells them they're pretty, or anything like that. Just oversimplified. Of course, I don't think that all women think that, but, oversimplified.
No, sure. Yeah.
But, they're waiting, and they're being selective about who they're spending their time with and who they want to commit to. And that's carrying over into this lower divorce rate. And I thought that was pretty interesting too. So if you are out there looking for the right person, it's okay to take your time, make that decision. And I guess, segue away from the people who you don't want to be around, and know what you want.
Right.
For me, when I knew that I was going to get married, it was not, a decision that I wanted to make lightly, because this is a commitment that I take seriously.
Yeah. And I think about people that feel pressured under that timeline. I've coached them on the other side of it. And it's like, okay, now you're married, but you're married to the wrong person. So you fit society standard.
Wrong person. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. You fit society standard, but now you have to live with your choice and
emotional,
baggage that comes along with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it does way more damage. And, in my story, I had damage through childhood, and then I had bad relationships, and I had to take time through all of my 30s almost just to figure it all out and go to therapy. And crazily enough, I came up with this concept, which was sort of it helped me understand and be able to create the filter that I think, like, Justin, you had such strong upbringing. My parents divorced when I was younger, so I didn't get that guidance, and so I wasn't seeing that example. So many women have not seen the example, and men too. Like, we grow up and we don't see two parents modeling it in front of us, and so it's kind of like this hole that's missing where people don't
know how to have that relationship.
Yeah,
because it's never been modeled for you.
Yeah, and so we look at movies, and I really looked at two movies: Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. Twilight. Actually, 50 Shades of Grey is fan fiction of Twilight. Actually, if you look at 50 Shades of Grey, it is the exact same story of Twilight, just with a different plot. But the woman that wrote it was such a big Twilight fan, she rewrote the story with a different plot, but similar. There's a lot of similarities, like the virgin who falls in love with this villain, and there's even like she goes and visits her mom, and there's the same visit to a mom. Like, if you really start paying attention, you're like, oh my God, this is like Twilight, just in a different plot. But what I looked at is the obsession women had with those movies. Like, literally, 50 Shades of Grey sold. I mean, I think it was one of the best-selling books of all time. I mean, like the numbers on it are, and I thought, I don't believe all these women are reading smut, because the porn industry is not driven by women. So this book was getting all this press, and I didn't want to read the book because I just can't, I'm not a fiction reader. So when the movie came out, I was like, oh, this is what this movie, it's about the unavailable man who then falls in love and then all of a sudden sees the girl. And this is this fantasy that a lot of girls have. They think that this guy who's, kind of unavailable, not really calling, and just being this, like, he's this tortured man. I really want to be with you, but I don't know. I'm really confused. And then he really wants to be with you again. And so there's this back and forth. And in these movies with all these characters, that we see the struggle, but in Hollywood, they give us the ending we want. At the final movie, spoiler alert, in 50 Shades of Grey, Christian Grey is the proud father of, I think there's 2 kids at the end. And I was like, and they're like running around, and the kids are running, and they're doing the thing where you pick the kids by their hands and swing them by their hands. It's like, oh, look, the guy who was going to set up a contract for you to have sex with him on demand and have the red room is now the happy father and family guy. And so we get, as women that are dating this emotionally unavailable guy, we get to see the satisfaction of that transformation happening. And that is the allure of the movie. It's not the kinky sex stuff. That wasn't why women were showing up for that movie or reading the books. It was like, oh, it gives you hope that guy can change.
Unavailable man.
Yes. And it's
the mountain.
Yeah. And there's so many movies about players, like Failure to Launch with Matthew McConaughey, or Sex and the City with Mr. Big. I mean, all of these shows center around a man that's just out of reach, just slightly unavailable. And I remember watching guys like Justin watch this stuff and roll their eyes. And I would think, why are they so negative about these movies? Or like, like romantic comedies. Be like, why they have such a bad attitude? They're such non-romantic. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm the person rolling my eyes. Like, I get it. I can't watch a Hallmark Christmas movie. I'm sorry, everybody who loves the Hallmark Christmas, but it's just like, I can't do it. I can't, like, it's just like, sometimes even the Hallmark Christmas movie, the guy's kind of a jerk. And then the girl works at the flower shop or the Christmas ornament shop or what, some cheesy thing that they give her in the cute little town with the Christmas carnival. And it's the same story. Go ahead, Justin.
Christmas movies like that for years.
I know.
Every year we watch It's a Wonderful Life together, and George Bailey was kind of a jerk.
He was.
Watch that movie. He was a jerk.
He is. Thank you.
His kids. He was a jerk to his wife.
He was.
She tried to change him, and that was it. He was a jerk. There's the original jerk, right? OG jerk.
Thank you. I have thought that too. And everyone's like, how dare you ruin these classic movies? But I watched that and I'm like, he is out of control.
Watch it to the end, that's the best part of that whole movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because it's very negative. We watched it one time. We're like, this is kind of a depressing show. Like, it's really not that uplifting. It's not really a wonderful life. This life sucks.
The end, the point for me in that movie was like, in the end, he realizes like, like, first of all, no one is just floating around on clouds all day with perfect life.
Right.
If they tell you they are, they're lying. But at the end of it, you realize like, hey, I need to appreciate the things that, whether they're right or they're wrong or indifferent in my life, that I am here, I'm living my best life, and it is a wonderful life.
Maybe that's what Christian Grey decided too. Like, this is great. This is a wonderful life. Look, I have kids and I don't need a sex dungeon anymore.
Right. Yes, because that transformation. You know what? I also think The Notebook. What?
It's a playroom for the kids.
It's a playroom for the kids. I also hate The Notebook because I feel like
I've never seen it.
You haven't? Have you seen it, Justin?
I was in a happy relationship.
I've never seen it either.
Oh my gosh.
I never saw it. I never saw it.
I thought you were joking.
Yeah, like I can't believe you haven't seen it. I mean, it is a good movie. Like, it's definitely, worth watching. But it's now considered like the classic movie. Which is funny because Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams actually ended up dating after that movie was filmed, and they were like a really intense, they were madly in love with each other. And so, now Eva Mendes is married to Ryan Gosling. So she joked, like, somebody said, well, when she was really sad, she was like, yeah, I'm just really sad. So I just sat around and watched The Notebook. And then I laughed, like, watching your husband with his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, that doesn't work for Eva Mendes, but yeah, it's kind of a story of just they romanticize a guy who's kind of a loser, and everyone's like wants to throw stuff at me because he's very romanticized in the movie. And I get it. Like, I understand, but now I watch those movies with a different set of eyes. Like, I look at Cinderella and go, what did he know about Cinderella to make him fall in love with her? Like, exactly what conversation happened where he got to know her as a person? You know what I mean? It's like she barely got there in time.
Well, if you remember the whole story, everybody was there to meet the prince.
Right.
It was almost like Bachelor for Disney.
That is true.
That's
where they got the idea for it.
Oh my God, I never thought of that. Yes, he is the Bachelor. She got the final rose. That is true. Yeah. Or like, I mean, all the fairy tales, there's no connection. There's no actual, the one I do like is, what's the one with the green guy? Can I know?
Oh, Shrek.
Shrek. Yeah. Now that's a real relationship. Like, that's actually showing reality. And they preferred to be, what do they call themselves? Ogres. Yeah. I mean, they actually got to know each other. You saw, like, at least
Is that supposed to mean, like, if you're pretty, then you have,
well, I don't know.
Ugly, you two can get together and have a real relationship?
Well, I think that they ultimately really loved who they actually were and who they wanted to be versus becoming, they were able to be put under spells and become these supermodel people, which, I wouldn't be against that plan, but they felt the most comfortable in their little mud pots or their whatever. Like, that's who they really were, ogres. Like, that's who their natural, I think, right? Wasn't that their natural,
swamp. They like living in the swamp.
They like to live in the swamp. Yeah. And so I feel like
find somebody who you like living in the swamp.
Right. Find your ogre.
I mean, that's actually a great analogy because you know what? Every day in the life of a marriage is not always going to be, fairy tales in The Notebook or 50 Shades of Grey or Twilight,
or even Shrek.
Right.
Even Shrek. Exactly. But there's ebbs and flows, and you need to be good, just as good with the bad as you are with the good.
Yes.
But it's so many movies. We can go down this whole movie rabbit hole. I was just thinking Dirty Dancing, where Patrick Swayze was such a jerk to Baby, and then in the end he's like, no, put Baby in a corner.
Yeah, because there again, your socioeconomic status is off balance. He can't relate to her. She can't relate to him. He assumes that she's putting him down, and she's not. She's just coming from a different perspective. And yeah, I mean, it's just Like,
You got a whole new podcast here evaluating movies. And
I know.
This is a side podcast.
It is. But this is like one of the main core things in my content where I realized, oh, I didn't get an example of what a relationship was like in real life. So I immediately thought what I saw in Hollywood was the ultimate representation of a great relationship. And if you think about it, where else do we find it? Or we look at celebrities and we think, oh, they have fame and beauty, so they must have it right. But like Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt are single again, and Angelina Jolie, like they're all single. It's almost like crazy how all of them are single again. But they should have had it all. And so, but people look at all this glamour and fantasy in Hollywood, and it's just, but it's still assumed that they have more or that they're better off. And so that's why, like, when I made this shift and I realized all the dating advice, I didn't hear in your whole story, you guys, I didn't hear either one of you say, well, I read this book by so-and-so who told me that on the first date, I should say these 4 things. And then I would get into the mind of a man. Like, you guys have no idea how much stuff is out there for women and for guys too. Get into the mind of a woman, learn what triggers her, learn how to capture her interest and keep it, make her crazy for you. Like, doesn't that just sound ridiculous?
It does. I was thinking figuratively, just drop all that stuff on a table and then knock it off into a garbage can. None of that crap matters.
Yes, I know. It took me a while to sift through it all.
Caught up in the game.
Yeah.
It's not a game. This is real life.
Yeah, I know. I realized when I looked at the game, which I've studied extensively, Neil Strauss, who is the creator of the book, The Game. It's the pickup artist Bible of how to literally manipulate women to get them to sleep with you. But I studied his concept. And then 10 years later, Neil Strauss had a major breakthrough and he started facing himself, which is highly unusual for a guy that has spent a career teaching men how to pick up women. But all of a sudden he realized he was screwed up and he went to therapy and faced himself. And his story is pretty incredible. And now he had this whole following of men. You know what he teaches those men? Self-esteem. Like this whole pickup artist, where they're supposed to be like super smooth in a bar, they had the lowest self-esteem because they were playing games. And I actually,
it wasn't real.
No, it's not real. Like I told a guy, we were talking, he was actually a publisher, and he goes, I used to be one of his coaches, and I would go around the country. He goes, we would charge men $3,000 for the weekend to take this course. And I said, so you taught him how to be pickup artists? He was like, no, we taught him how to meet people. He was like, you don't understand how hard it is for men to walk up and approach women. And I said, okay, so what did you teach them to do on date 4 or date 17? And he goes, well, we didn't teach him that. I'm like, so you just taught him how to meet him in the bar, like day 1? Yeah. Right. So pickup artists. He's like, I'm like, you didn't really teach them how to be in a relationship.
They weren't relationship artists.
No, they weren't relationship artists. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so simple to me now, but oh my gosh, you guys, like this was not simple before. And I just like, every time I have a conversation, sometimes I'll go a while without talking to couples that I know. And then I'll have a conversation like this, and it just brings everything back into so much focus and clarity. And it's such a healthy reminder. Like there's no time you should settle, and you shouldn't be sitting across from somebody who doesn't get you or is intimidated by you or is threatened by your job or your income, or you know what I mean? Like you need to be able to like
deal breakers.
Yes. Yeah.
Deal breaker. You need to have fun. You need to have a good sense of humor. Life is long, and every day is not going to be sunshine and rainbows. And you need somebody who you can lean on, and somebody who makes you happy when you're not happy, and somebody you can make happy when they're not happy.
Yes.
With Justin and I, like our communication style, and I think, you should have an argument style too as a couple. We joke a lot. We have a lot of inside jokes. Like one day Justin was talking to me about something, and I was just like, I was just like, like, I don't want to have this conversation right now. So I just nodded off and started snoring really loud. Like, and then we just start laughing, and I'm like, all right, can we like bring it back to 0 again and start all over?
Yes. I was just listening. Yes. Do you guys ever listen to the Gottman Institute? Do you know? You guys would really love it because you have such a great marriage, and the Gottman Institute is the most world-renowned institution of studying what makes marriages healthy and what makes a long-term relationship. And they now have it over 90% of their predictability of what makes, like they go through a series of questions and things that they have couples go through. And then at the end, they'll say, okay, this couple with 98% certainty will end up divorced because they've identified the core principles of what make a marriage work. And what you guys hit on so many of the things that are so key, like having a sense of humor, even when you're fighting. He was like, that's one of the top things. Like if you can laugh during a fight, you're like at the top of the list because you're so in sync with each other that even a fight can be funny in the moment and you can get through it. So, yeah.
Two quick points on that. One, I think that when you are dating somebody, you have to be the happiest you've ever been. Because if you add a marriage, not that marriage is stressful for us, but when you add the complexity of a marriage and a house and all the tax payments you have to make or whatever else you have to do.
Real life adulting stuff.
Real life adulting stuff. And then a child, that drops the happiness factor it drops it significantly. And if you don't have that over the moon excited happiness before you get married and start adding all of those weights to the top of the table, you're going to crumble,
Mm-hmm.
Not that, let me clarify his statement, because not that, being married and having children diminishes the happiness of your relationship. No. It just adds a new stress level.
Yeah.
Things that you have to deal with, things that you have to focus on. It changes the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like, hey, let's go to the bar and have a drink tonight.
Yeah, we're not like sexy single swinging couple anymore. We can't just be like, so what do you want to do? Let's go to the movies. All right, cool. We have no, we have no responsibilities and nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it does add a level of stress and complexity to the relationship. And if you're already struggling, it could damage or break your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more clarifying.
Yes, I can totally understand that. Even when you're single and you have stresses in your life, like if you're not happy yourself, then when your job isn't going well, or you have a friendship that's having issues, like if you're not keeping the core, if you don't know how to manage it at a core level, then the whole thing falls apart. So in a relationship too, like everything is going to add stress. So that's a really good point. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Foundation.
And just one more additional thing, you were talking about how we're kind of in sync and we can laugh about things. And that's very true. We are in sync and we can laugh about a lot of things, but we're not the same person. Like people think maybe, I have to find the same person. If you found the exact same person, one of you would be unnecessary. If you were with that exact same person, one of you would be unnecessary and wouldn't be needed in a relationship. You have to find somebody who has
complementary
strengths to your weaknesses, and you have to have those complementary strengths to their weaknesses. And I think that's really important also.
Yes. What does some people say? Someone's the bulldozer and the other one's a cone. I love that concept. So this is awesome, you guys. I'm glad we did bonus round, because I know that the people that need it are like on the edge of their seat, because sometimes I'm on the edge of my seat and I have these conversations all the time, but just every new couple is just so cool. And you guys are at the top of the list for sure. Like you guys are awesome. And yeah, like
signature high five.
Yes. Signature high five. Absolutely. That's awesome. I give you guys 100% chance of making it to the long term, because you have all of those core things, that the friendship, the humor, the foundation. I mean, it's so refreshing to hear. And you met online. So I have a previous episode on this podcast where I said I gave up online dating forever because I just couldn't do it anymore. But for those that are wanting, and I may do it again sometime at some point, I don't know. But I feel like now more than ever, online dating kind of got overgrown with trolls. It was like first, years ago, people took it more seriously. Now I feel like people are just on there. There's 50 million people on there, where before it wasn't nearly as saturated. Now it's just saturated. So I feel like we need to improve the process. It's still kind of, we're still sending email, and we have all this video technology, yet we're still like looking at still photos from 1994. I feel like on some of these guys' profile.
99 called, they want their pictures back.
Right. Yeah. It's still like, it's just, I know somebody will modernize it, or I know there's a lot of different ideas out there, but it's kind of a low vibe experience right now. You go on and you're just like how many shirtless selfies can I take in one day? You know, like how many emails that just say, hey, and that's it. That's all they say. Hey, hi, how are you?
Better than that.
I know. And I was going to say this before and I forgot. Like one thing that as I started respecting myself more and working on myself more, when I used to get those emails from guys and I would think, really, you read my profile and you couldn't put in more effort. And then I made a shift and realized, no, he doesn't respect himself. That's why he sends an email that way. Like, and then I started thinking, this has nothing to do with me. This is how this guy, he shows up at his computer or on his phone and he looks at a profile and he thinks, whatever he thinks of himself, he comes up with, hey. And that's him, you know, like it has nothing to do with the girl. Would you agree, Justin? Like,
absolutely. That's just kind of like, you know, it's like saying hey to somebody at the bar, and if they smile and wave back at you, like you can go a little further, but that's just, it's kind of meek in my opinion, you know?
Yes.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, it's meek. That's a very good, and it just shows, and I think a lot of these guys, they kind of, again, they put the quarter in to get the gumball, and then they want, I agree when you very first said, what?
Hey, can you reply? Hey.
Yeah, give me a gumball. Hi. And then they want the response. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. They're addicted to notifications. I sat by this guy on the plane, told him about Gumball Love, and he was like, people are addicted to notifications. I'm like, I think you're right. And so just having all these women texting them is what they're looking for. So they keep stringing you along. And so, yeah.
Feel important, and it gives them that satisfaction that they're not finding within themselves. And then they'll never find, because if they keep trying to find it outside of themselves, they're never going to be satisfied.
Yes.
I think I remember a psychological study from Psych 101 when I took it many, many years ago about it had rats, and they would push a lever and they would get a treat. And they train the rats to push a lever and get a treat every time. And then again, I think it goes back to dopamine, that then they would randomly do it, or every other time. And they would train the rat to like, the rat just would claw at the lever to try to get more treats. And they started kind of the same thing with texting or reaching out to people, or kind of having the social media. Yeah. You know, you're always scrolling through social media looking for that next piece of information that you want to see. And you're the rat. You're the rat. So staring at that screen, having your brain getting programmed by all this content that's out there. That's just, I mean, for lack of a better term, I would think 95% of the content out there is garbage.
Yeah.
You know, it's just crap.
Or it's just unnecessary to take it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. As I was developing my own content for this program, I was realizing I couldn't produce good content if I was taking in like wake up and turn on the news, or scroll through social media, checking emails, checking text messages. I started to realize like I can't have all this in my brain and then be able to produce good content. So I had like the TV stayed off for weeks, and I would not open apps or delete them off my phone. I was like, okay, I don't need to know about the crises that are going on all over the world. Like they don't call it
programming for nothing.
Right.
You know, like, remember, watch your programs. You know, my programs. Oh, I got to get programmed.
Justin and I don't watch TV.
Wow.
Very rarely.
Very, very rarely. We have one television in our home. It's in our basement.
So it's like go downstairs to watch movies or watch a sporting event.
Days and days go by before we watch TV.
And you just read?
I don't know. We just talk to each other.
Oh, nice.
How boring.
We read.
We do read.
But I mean, with the baby, with the newborn, it's kind of like, you know.
It's not really a lot of like extra fluff time for like fun stuff like watching TV or whatever. Like extra stuff. Like,
that's awesome.
Time to get
I would rather read.
And I would rather read or work on my business or talk to my husband or spend time with my baby or go for a run, work on my physical and emotional and mental stuff. I don't need distractions.
Mm-hmm.
It's just commercials anyway on TV. Like what are they, it's for the sheeple, for lack of we use that term also. The people that are out there are just sheep, they're sheeple.
Totally. I know. It's true. It's true. You really have to, my Kara from the Champagne Diet says, curate your feed.
Yeah.
And I'm mute. I am like a remove from feed and mute this person. I don't want to offend somebody by unfollowing, everybody gets offended or if I delete them, but I just can't take in how many people's birthday parties and vacations. Like, I don't even know half these people, I only want to know about the people that are really important to me.
Exactly. And in the big scheme of life, and this is something I think about too, when, Justin and I may or may not, may be having an argument, like in the big scheme of life, is this going to matter a week from now? Is this going to matter a year from now? Is this going to affect our marriage 10 years down the road? No.
Yeah, exactly.
I will just pick up the drain plug and put it back into the sink. We don't need to have a fight about it.
Right. Yes. Choose your battles.
After she has thrown it at me.
No, that's not true. That's not true. But thank you so much. I hope that, we were able to deliver some value. I hope that this, really, helps whomever needs to hear this information. This has been amazingly so much fun and even cathartic for us.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys, you've gone above and beyond. Really, I can't tell you. Sometimes I was like, oh, maybe I'll have just the happily married woman on. But Justin, you being here, it's like we get the man's perspective, but we also get to hear how you interact as a couple and how comfortable you are with each other and how easy the conversation is between the two of you. And that's the winning combination. It's like, it's so powerful to see that dynamic because that's where I want everybody that follows us and listens to this podcast, that's where I want the expectation to be set so that the communication is this good. And I want everybody to recognize how easy it was for me to talk to Justin and to talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, people don't realize like how easy it is to have a conversation with a couple and how confident and secure, because I guarantee you, I could ask a lot of other couples. And if I start saying, hey, can you tell me about your relationship? There's a lot of guys that will like hide in the closet. They're never going to do something like this because they don't have the confidence. They're just nowhere near that level. So that's says a lot about you guys as a couple. And just, I think women are a lot more inclined to speak in this way. But when men do this, it's so powerful. It's just, I just feel like you're the true alpha dog. And this whole idea that like the Christian Grey is the alpha. No, Justin, you're the alpha dog. I've studied this.
Yeah,
yes.
I tell you rule number one about Justin. Rule number one about Justin is don't tell him he's good at anything.
That's a rule that I gave Holly when I first met her. I was like, rule number one of Justin is do not tell him he's good at anything.
But truly, I looked this up about wolves. Do you know that wolf, an alpha, like the true alpha dog, the head of the wolf pack, chooses an equal alpha female, and an alpha male wolf and an alpha female wolf equally co-parent, and then they raise alpha children. So this whole idea that there's this man leading the pack and that the woman is submissive. No, the alpha wolf knows I got a job to do and I need my wife here to help me out equally because we've got to fight. Yeah.
This is Sparta. Exactly.
This is Sparta.
Yeah. And it's so cool.
Want relationship goals. Go watch that movie.
Yeah.
Really? I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, minus the infidelity.
Okay.
Oh,
relationship goals minus the cheating. Yeah.
I don't think she was actively cheating. She was trying to get something accomplished.
She was trying to get something accomplished.
Oh, she was manipulating to...
Yeah, she was trying...
to save her husband.
Okay.
Bring the troops home.
We'll give her a pass then.
She gets a pass.
I don't want to pass.
Awesome, you guys. All right, well, I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Good thing it's only noon, so you got the rest of the day. But thanks again. This has been just awesome. So I'm so excited to release. I'm literally going to get this edited like today and get this out like ASAP. Is this going to be so helpful for everyone? So thanks again, guys.